In this video, we will be covering the highlights of Java 10 features from programmer perspective. So, out of 7 to 8 features that were introduced as part of Java 10, there are 3 important features which every developer needs to be aware of. And the other features were mainly focused on the JDK level implementations, and they are useful only to the people who work on customizing the JDK functionalities. But from a programmer perspective, these are the 3 important features which should be aware of, and we will be discussing them as part of this video. With the very first thing we have here is usage of var keyword. Until Java 9, we have to mention the type of local variable explicitly to ensure that it was compatible with the initializer which we use to initialize it, the value that we are using to initialize. So there should be a compatibility between the data type and the value that we assign to it. But starting from Java 10, we need not provide the data type. We can mark the variable using a var keyword, and the compiler automatically infers the type of variable from the value on the right hand side that we are trying to assign to that variable. But again, there are certain limitations to it. We will take some practical examples and we'll go one by one on how can we use that and what are the limitations that we have, those details. And the very first thing, as I was telling you, the keyword, it is not a keyword officially in Java, but it is an attribute or a word that we can use to use in our programs. But Java doesn't have var as a keyword officially. This is because it should not affect the earlier version programs which were already developed by then. If in case in the lower versions of Java, maybe before 10 till 9, Java 9, if any programs have a keyword declared as variables declared as var, so all those will be affected starting from Java 10. So for that reason, they did not make var as an official keyword, but going forward, we need to be very careful in using this in our regular programmings. Now let me take to the practical examples first that will help you in understanding. So this is the way we can use. So the earlier approach we have here used to be like, let us suppose if we have to declare a string name is equal to, and we declare, this is the way we declare. So the left side is a data type and the right side is a value. Data type followed by the name of the variable, and the right side will be having the value. But whereas here, if you see in line number 15, I'm assigning a string to a variable z or z. And in the same way, in line number 13, 14, we are trying to assign the values 12 and 24 respectively to variables x and y. But we are not using any data type as integer or anything as such, string or such. And we are just using the var keyword there. Using the var, we are declaring the variables. And JVM is not throwing error, and instead it is automatically trying to infer the type of the variable. So what could be the type of the variable? Based on the value that we give on the right hand side, it is trying to map something and infer the data type accordingly. Okay, and let us concentrate on this particular program so far. So we'll just discuss till this level. Let us focus on this level part and let me try to execute the program. Okay, let us talk about the map things a little later. I'm just trying to execute the program here. Okay, so if you see here, for the line number 19, result is being displayed as 36, because in line number 18, I'm just trying to declare another variable result using the var keyword. I'm just trying to add the two variables x plus y. Since both are integers, as we know by the values, it was able to add successfully, and we were able to get the output as 36. And in line number 15, if you observe here, var z is equal to Nckhub consultancy and training is the variable, is the value that assigned to the z variable. And in line number 20, I tried to add both x plus z. So x is an integer. By seeing, we can understand, and z is a type string because we assigned a string value to it. But when we try to add those, that's the difference between line number 19 and line number 20. So in line number 19, since both the data types are integers, so JVM compiler, Java compiler, it added the values directly and it gave us the response. But whereas in line number 20, both are different data types. But still, it tried to concatenate both and it gave us a response. So this is the way we can use var. And let us see the line number 16 and 17, which I commented here. So line number 16, we can override the values that we have assigned to it. But whatever the data type or whatever the type of value that we have used earlier, the same kind of value has to be used. Now let me execute this program. So earlier we have 12 Nckhub consultancy and training. Now we have overridden the value of z on line number 16 with hello world. Now we got the response for line number 20 as 12 hello world. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'll just comment this line number 16 again. Now I'll try to uncomment the line number 17. So here what I'm trying to do is for this particular value, earlier we have assigned a value of type string. Now I'm trying to change it to integer type. So this particular conversion will not be allowed because in this particular line JVM has already understood and inferred during the compile time itself, saying like this particular z will be having only the values of type string, but here you are trying to assign a integer value which is not going to work out. For that reason JVM is throwing an error. If you see the error here, it is saying change the type of z to int. So internally it was JVM has fixed that this particular data type for this particular variable is already defined as string and you cannot change it. For that reason, it is throwing an error. So this is not allowed. If you want to override something, you need to make sure that you are assigning a value of the same data type so that JVM will accept it. Otherwise, it will throw a compilation error. So hope we are clear so far. Now let us go to the next topic. Line number 22. So this is the traditional way of declaring a map. Okay. So while you declare a map, you need to declare a map by importing the map class, and then you need to give the key value pair data types and then map variable and then new hash map of again the key value data types. This is the traditional way of doing it. To simplify to some extent, we can use the variable or var here. How do you use it and declare a map object using var? So this whole thing will be replaced with var. That's all. And the map variable name can be of any type and followed by the new hash map. And here anyway you have to give the key value data types. And here you are using it. So this is the difference that we can see with respect to the var usage. Okay, in the traditional way, you need to declare in this way, and you need not, in this case, you need not import the map separately. Okay, if you import hash map, it would be fine. But whereas in this case, you need to import map class and then you need to import hash map class. Both the classes you need to import. So it's, I can say like it's a kind of avoiding some kind of boilerplate code. Not the completely, but to some extent. Okay, so using this var, this is the way you can declare maps. So after I declared a map, I try to just add some of the items to the map. So I have added three items or three elements. In other words, 25, 26, 27 line numbers. So once these elements were added to the map, so there are three elements. And now I'm just trying to get a value from the map by passing a key. So seeing the declaration, we understand that key is an integer type and value is a string type. So while I get something by passing a key as an input, we are aware that we will be getting a string, but still you can use a var keyword for it and you can get the values. So this is nowadays being a common practice where we use map related functionalities. So they are not focusing more on the data types, and var has become a normal process in working with the map functionalities. And if you print this one, you will be getting the output. Let me try to do that. See, you got the Ramesh because I passed the key as 101. So what is the value for 101? It is Ramesh. So I got the output as Ramesh. So JVM automatically infers the data type as string for this name variable. Okay. So this is the way we can have the usage of map with var. Okay. Now the last thing we have here is about the list. And how do we handle it in case of for loops? Okay, so here I declared a list of numbers. So this numbers is a list of integers. So using the var, I was able to create a list object. And list dot off, and I passed this 1 2 3 4 5 6, and this dot off is a static method which was part of the list class. Okay, and for the for loop here, usually we will have the data type integer, and now we are replacing the data type with var, and we are asking the JVM itself to infer the data type of its own, so that it will be easy to make the things. Okay, so if you see this, we'll be getting the output for this because inside the for loop, we are trying to print each and every number. 1 2 3 4 5 6. Okay, so these are certain use cases that we have with var keyword. Now, let us go back to the slide. So as I mentioned earlier, this is not an official keyword from a Java standards, but still it is recommended not to use it going forward in declaring the variables as a variable name or any other variable, any other name, because that is unofficially considered as a one of the attribute that is used to declare variables. Okay, type of variable will be inferred at compile time and cannot be changed. As I showed you in the earlier example, once the JVM has inferred a type to a particular variable name, you have to override only with that particular values. You cannot change the data types to other values. Okay, and this cannot be used at non-local variables. When I say non-local variables, global variables. See, if you uncomment this, immediately I'm getting an error. Okay, create class var. So it is not allowed. So var is used for creating variables only locally. It cannot create global variables or non-local variables. And initialization is mandatory for declaring variables using var. You cannot declare variables without initializing using var. That is true. And there is no way you can do that. Let me do one thing. Let me try doing this. See, we got an error immediately. So if you are not initializing, you will be getting errors. That's all. And it cannot be declared with null value. I'll do one thing. See, it is not allowing. Immediately it is throwing an error. So it cannot be declared with null value. And the same thing, var cannot be used with as an output to the lambda expression because lambda expressions needs a explicit target type. Wherever the code needs an explicit target type, var cannot be used, because var is used to enable the JVM to infer the type during the compile time. But there are certain cases where we have to explicitly declare the target type. In those scenarios, var cannot be used. One such case is lambda expressions, and another such case is arrays initialization. In both these scenarios, you cannot use var, and you have to explicitly define the target type. So these are certain limitations that we have to have the usage of var in our programming. So accordingly, based on your requirement, it can be used. And nowadays, it is being used more widely. So this is for var, and hope I'm clear on this. And the next topic we have on this is two other features. One is unmodifiable connection collections, and the other one is optional class. A new method was added, which is orElseThrow. So we'll first think of unmodified collections. So for unmodifiable collections, so basically for a collections class, two new methods were added. One is dot copy of, and another one is to unmodifiable. So copy of method will clone a particular collection object and make it as a unmodifiable copy. Okay. The second one is a to unmodifiable, which is used in combination of streams, which we will be seeing now in an example. Okay, for this I have taken one particular list of integers with numbers, and I have added 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 values. Okay, 45, 55, 65, 72, 75, 82. So I'm just trying to create a copy numbers list by using list.copyOf method. So the very first method that we have, list.copyOf method. Okay, I'm just trying to print the copy list in line number 19. Let me try to execute this program now. So line number 19, I have tried to print and I got the complete list. Okay, in line number 20, I'll just uncomment this. So what is the code here means? I'm just trying to add an element to the copy numbers list. So if you observe, this copy numbers is created using the collections dot copy of method by passing the existing list. So as per Java 10 feature, this is unmodifiable. So now when I'm trying to add a new element to this unmodifiable collection object, I should be getting an error. Let me try to execute this. See, exception in thread main. Where is the exception? In line number 20. So this is the line number where I try to modify the collection object. Which is the collection object? That collection object that was created using the dot copy of method. So the feature that we have here is whenever you create a collection object using dot copy of method, the output of that collection, that method cannot be modified. That is one thing. And the second one we have is to unmodifiable. So with the streams APIs that we have in Java 8, we might be very familiar with some of the functionalities where we use the collectors dot toList method. So as an enhancement to that, we have an additional method called collectors dot to unmodifiable list. So if you make it as toList, you can still add the elements additionally to that particular list. But whereas if you make it as to unmodifiable list, you cannot add anything. So here what I'm trying to do is to the original list of numbers that was there in line number 11, I'm just trying to filter them with the condition as divided by 5. So out of 6 elements that we have here, 4 are divided by 5, 2 are not. So I'm just trying to filter them and bring out the list with which are divided by 5. So in line number 23, I am trying to print that list that contains the elements divided by 5. Let me try to execute this program. So line number 23, 45, 55, 65, and 75. So now to this list that was having divided by 5, I'm just trying to add another element called 95 in line number 24. Okay, now let me try to execute this program. We will be seeing an error here in line number 24. Exception in thread main, java.lang. Unsupported declaration operation exception. So in line number 24, it is clearly mentioning that this cannot be allowed. So this operation is not allowed. It is not supported. So whenever you create a collection object using the methods .copyOf or .toUnmodifiable list, you cannot modify the output or the resulting collection objects. So this is what we have. And the third one we have here is the optional class one, a new method added to the optional class, which is orElseThrow. Now here, to have a demo for that, here we have two lists. One is the additional initial list that we created at line number 11, and the other list that we have is at line number 26. So if you observe, this is an empty list which is there in line number 26, and this is the list that we have 6 elements. Okay, now what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to see if there is any even number is there in this particular list or not. So line number 28, I'm trying to perform this operation on the first list, which was created in line number 11. So let me try to execute this. So it executed successfully since I did not print anything. Okay, let me do one thing. Okay, I'm just trying to print this so that we can understand. See, I got the first even number, which is 72 in the list. Okay, now I'll just uncomment this line number 29 and comment this line number 28. So the new list, I'm just trying to perform the same above operation which I have done in line number 28 in line number 29, but on an empty list. So basically this particular list doesn't have any number at all. Okay, so I'm just trying to perform this particular operation. So let us try to observe the difference in these two. So for this one, exception in thread main, java dot util dot no such element exception, no value present. So this is because of using orElseThrow, because the result of the return type of find first method is a optional. If you see here, optional of integer java.stream dot find first. So to this optional, there is another method added as part of Java 10, or else throw. This will default to throw an exception. Maybe when you are doing the code, when you are making the complex logics, you can still customize this and you can tell which kind of exception has to be thrown. But here it will throw no such element exception as because there is no element in this particular new list. Okay. So because I have used orElseThrow, I was able to get this particular exception because I did not explicitly throw anything. Just by using this, I was able to see the exception. You are telling the JVM or the compiler, Java compiler, to throw an exception if you are not finding any element over there. You are telling this particular whole statement in one keyword or else throw optional class as a method introduced as part of Java 10, which is or else throw. Earlier to this, there is a method called get optional dot get, or we have another method called optional dot is present. These are the two methods that we were used earlier. But when this was introduced in Java 10, we were having most frequently used as this because this will automatically throw an exception if there is no value present in it. Hope I'm clear on this, and that's all we have for this video. Thanks for watching.